Welcome everyone, this is the first ever Elementor WordPress Meetup. I created a bit of noise in July when I released a video saying a lot of WordPress events that you have up and down the country and around the world are crap. I want to do something that is more for the community and you guys. So number one, face-to-face, but also I wanted to be here just to kind of meet and greet, but also just kind of make it real again and make it a bit more fun.
Why Elementor? Why of all the page builders are you looking at Elementor?
So I started using WordPress in 2003-ish and I loved it. I actually did it as a side hustle, as a hobby. I was working in the NHS as an analyst. I could see the interest in websites buildings. It was still quite a new thing with a lot of people. And I started with using WordPress, liked it, but I also struggled a lot with the coding side of it. So HTML, CSS, fine, but then when you really wanted to go a bit deeper with a bit of animation, it was like, God, I've got to learn this programming language, and it really became annoying. I consider myself a master at SQL. It's what I was building in the NHS, databases, warehouses, data mining, analyzing data left, right, center. But I always felt like trying to keep on top of SQL and the intricacies of websites, my brain was always all over the place. So I spent a lot of time, I'm getting to the answer by the way, but I spent a lot of money on Theme Forest. So every 2 weeks, you're spending £30. Oh, I like this theme, I'll buy this. Oh, I'll buy this theme, I'll buy this theme. And what was frustrating is whenever you went back to a developer and you said, this theme is really good, but can we turn this box into a blue box? You got ghosted, or they gave you an answer that made no sense. So for a while, my WordPress journey was like a bit wobbly. Then Elementor came on the, well, Divi came on the scene. And well, no, let me go back. WP Bakery, Beaver Builder and all of that as well, at the time, Visual Composer. They were good, but I always found like it was like, I don't know, more effort than fun. Then Divi came along, bit better. But again, I still felt like it was not the best. And I feel like I'm still having to do more work to make it work. And then Elementor came on the scene. Elementor was not perfect for version 1 and version 2, but it was a breath of fresh air. Because when you get used to drag and dropping with PowerPoint and other tools and things, it was like, oh, okay, I can do this now. And rather than me trying to work out how to build, I can now put my mind into what do I want to build. Because when it comes to building for web design clients, it should be less about how I do it and more about what do you need. So you're a dentist, you got competition, you want to get more clients, you want to let people know about your services. How can we promote that? Because at the end of the day, clients don't care whether you use Divi, Elementor, GoDaddy, they really don't care. Well, they do care because they want it as cheap as possible, some of them. But what they really want is something that's going to, number one, give them a return of investment, get them noticed, get them seen, get them clients, get them sales, get them business. Elementor for me was the easiest way to do it. Now, there are other tools out there. Bricks, breakdowns, Etch is coming on the scene. I don't like to say that by using Elementor you're not an expert. If you want to be an expert, you should use a more codey tool, like maybe Etch coming on the scene where you can do a bit more coding, or Bricks, which really went in deep with classes, and we will be talking about classes later on, global classes and stuff like that. I feel like, well, how to explain it? I don't care what tool you use. I always feel like if it works for you and it helps you get the job done, just do it. It's a bit like, I don't understand why people make a big deal about page builders and what you use. Sorry, and I know that's not your question. I don't know why you're getting to.
I prompted you.
I know. Is that it's almost like if the page builder you use starts to bother you, then you might as well say, well, why are you drinking that drink? And why have you got Pepsi Max? And why have you got that on your, your lap
Max
over there?
One form of caffeine.
I am not sponsored by Pepsi Max, by the way.
Quick promo for Pepsi Max. Never happened before.
I have regularly,
around it.
I have contacted them on numerous occasions. They've never replied, ever. Right, okay, so when it comes to Elementor, it was just the ease of using it. It was fun, it was easy, there was a community. So when COVID hit, I started to make a decision over, do I want to continue working in the NHS or do I want to make a complete massive change in my career? And I went neck deep more into Elementor. You'll be surprised at how many websites out there are using Elementor. You'll be quite surprised. I've come across many in my last 4 years and I'm like, that's using Elementor. I did not know that. I'm not going to promote anything here. I'm not asking you to hire me. I'm not asking you to buy any of my courses. But I will let you know that once the V4 version comes out, I will be doing a new Elementor website course, but the cost of it will be 99 pence a month. I will be releasing it on the YouTube channel. So the videos will come out about 4 or 5 videos a week. Learn at your own pace. It'll have everything in there for you, but I'm now going to make it open to the world because there's only so far I can lower the price, and I've always felt like I know I've got a lot of users in Eastern countries or Africa, and I know they just won't buy the course. So from going forward, it will be 99 pence. And there may be a bricks course.
Yeah, well, I watched all your Bricks 101 stuff as well. So
Maybe. The bricks crowd don't like me because I use Elementor. They always say, you're trying to build a bricks website using Elementor methodology. And I go, well, you're dragging a header. What's the difference? You know, does it make a difference what you're using?
But the likes of Kevin, he cannot stand Elementor, can he?
I'll make sure I edit that bit out. So the first thing I wanted to talk about was don't let scope creep ruin what you're doing. This is probably the #1 problem I see on forums and everywhere at the moment. People always go on about how they've been ghosted or they start a project and the client keeps making changes. Problem is that we're not setting boundaries. If you set a boundary in terms of, or milestones in terms of what you're going to do, what you're responsible for and what the client is responsible for, who's doing sign off, when is the sign off required, how many revisions are allowed. If you can get that set in stone in a contract or a discussion, it's going to help you out. Often you might have what you think is a watertight contract, and then a client's going to come back to you and go, oh, fantastic, the website's doing really well, but can we change the header or can we change the images a little bit? And you kind of go, yeah, okay, we could do that. Oh, can we just switch the layout? And I saw something really cool and there was this little bit of animation and I would like that too. If you keep going along with that, you've set a precedent and they will forever demand off you. And the day you then say, no, I'm not going to do that. Well, you won't say it in that way, okay? You'll be a bit more nicer about it and often it's behind an email. You'll say, sorry, we can't do that. There's a bit of a payment. They won't like that. Because all of a sudden you've gone from helping them out to not wanting to help. So the best way to approach this is if you think you were clear in what you will and won't do, and now they've come and asked for something, do it and then let them know, I'm doing this for you just so that we can make sure the website is still operational and it's still working. But next time there will be a charge for this as a reminder, you know, whether you charge per hour, per task or whatever. So to keep favor with them. Now, if it's a client you don't care about, like you built the website and you're like, oh, I never want to see them again. Fine, you could probably turn them away. But if there's a form of recurring income, we'll help you out now, but next time you are going to have to pay for it. It doesn't destroy the relationship, because if you are getting recurring income from them, you don't want to upset them or put them off. If you ever are in that situation where you're getting hounded by your client, it's okay to say no, but just do it in a diplomatic way and set boundaries. What you're going to do, like I've mentioned it, revisions. How many revisions are you going to do? And make clear what kind of revisions. So you might do a text change or an image change, but when it's a layout change, because layout changes, you kind of go, well, what's wrong with that? Now you've got to make sure it's okay on the tablet, on the mobile. And if you don't make clear to them that that could be an extra charge based on how much work is required, They take it for granted.
Has anybody actually asked you, don't you do it via AI then?
When I'm working with a client, I might say to them, have you got your content written out? And 50% of the time, they go, no, that's your job. And you go, no, it's not my job. You need to have your content written out. And then I will say to them, okay, can you answer a few questions, basics, and we'll use AI to help make that better. But you get final sign off of that. So that's the only time we do. I think I've mentioned this online in a few videos before. I don't like relying on AI, and the reason why is I find even the Elementor AI builder, when you let AI build your layout, you look at it and you go, okay, cool. And then you realize, actually, I want to change it a bit. And you spend more time undoing what they've built. Have you heard of Elementor? Yeah. And the new one, Kitstarter, right? They're all really good. I mean, even I've used them for the a page layout I'm going to show you later on. I went, I'll just drag it in, I don't care, it's really quick. They're great for quick and dirty layouts. But when you study them, I can't understand why they use so many containers. They'll have a parent container, then a child container, then another child container, and then they've got a heading. And I go, what was the point of the extra? And I think they're trying to future-proof it, but I go, they use more than they need. And I feel like with AI, if I want to use Elementor, the AI builders don't either build the way I would build, or they're not even using Elementor. So what's the point in using it? And I'm one of those people where I like to build with a blank page, unless I'm doing a tutorial for today, and then I just use up a starter template solution thing. Let me quickly jump into CSS frameworks. The great thing about Elementor is it's a drag and drop builder. Just like with bricks, just like with WordPress, classic editor to an extent. Personally think that 95% of the websites you ever build, that's all you will ever need. But if you start to think a little bit out the box with the CSS framework, you can make your life be so much more efficient. Now, when I say CSS framework, I'm not talking about the plugin. There's ACSS, CSS framework, and there's a few others. I'm talking about how you can use a bit of CSS. If you've got Elementor Pro and you click on any of your widgets, or you go to site settings, go to the advanced tab, go to custom CSS, and you can start to pop stuff in, which will make your life more efficient. So by me stating H1 font size 32, by the way, I use REM, but I always like to put pixel because I feel like people understand that better. By saying font size 32 pixel, anytime you drag a heading now onto that page or the entire site, if you've popped that in your site settings, every H1 will be 32 pixel. And that's great if that's what you want, because maybe you've worked out with your client that for our branding, our headings will be this big, our subheadings will be that big, and our text will be 15.6 pixel size. So rather each time you drag in a text editor, you keep going to the style tab and pick, doing your sizes, it will do it automatically for you. And for anyone who's not familiar with that bit of CSS, that now means that the H1, when we get to tablet mobile size, it will now be 1 REM, which is 16 pixel. Rather than doing something like this, what you could instead do is H1 font size clamp 1.19 REM, 1.5 REM. What this is doing is saying that when you're on the desktop, my font will never go bigger than 1.5 REM. If 1 REM is equal to 16 pixel, 0.5 is 8, so 16 plus 8 is 24. And I don't want to go into the algorithmic Pythagoras theorem about all of that, but that means that I now have set my maximum size, and when I shrink my screen and get towards a tablet or a mobile, fluid typography, because that's what this is doing, my fonts will shrink to 1.19 REM. When I do tutorials, I always try to be very prim and proper.
Yeah, right.
When I do the live chats, if you ever watch the live chats, that's the real me. I'm effing and blinding all over the place. I'm just like, I don't care what I say. But if you find any of this confusing, when you go to the Web Squadron YouTube channel, just do a search for videos that I've done about font clamp or fluid typography, and it will explain this in so much more easier to understand way. Because if you start to stick stuff like this into your site settings and you've decided that my biggest font will be 50 pixel and my smallest will be 16, now when, like, it doesn't matter what device or screen you're on, your font will resize. Because if you use the Elementor way, where you go desktop is 32, tablet is 20, mobile is 16, yeah, you get the jump. And for so many years, we accepted it. And when our clients said it, we're like, oh yeah, but it's the device, isn't it? But I feel like fluid typography has been out for so long, it's so underappreciated. But this bit here, the clamp, forget the font size, you could pop this in for an image. You could have an image that is 500, and when you get to the mobile, you want 300, and it will now shrink nicely. You could do it for margins and padding. On a desktop, your padding is, I don't know, 5 pixel. Because you've got so much white space, you don't care. But when you get to the mobile, you now want 20 pixel. So as you shrink, it goes 5 and it gradually grows to 20. And it just keeps everything in proportion. But then you can take it a stage further. So over here now, I've got my H1 clamp formula, but then I've given it a class name of medium. And I've done one for H2 as well, and I've done it for paragraph as well. So what you could do is you could set up like a CSS framework. And anytime I type in medium as the CSS class name, it will adopt this size. If you do it as a H1, it will adopt this size. If you do it as a paragraph, it will adopt this size. But does anyone notice anything about these three formulas? They're all the same. This is what was being taught quite a lot in a lot of tutorials. And even I told people to do this, and I was doing it. So if you imagine you now want to set up font sizes and you want to give them the name extra large, large, medium, small, extra small, and loads like that. And now you want to cover every type of HTML tag, H1 to H6, and paragraph, and button, and span, and loads of stuff. Your CSS framework just goes like that. What you should do, and again I've covered this in videos, is that. And this does not get spoken about enough, because some people always make a big deal about it's not the best way to write it. This works. I'm now saying that if you use the class name medium, I don't care what your heading HTML tag is, apply that size. So that means if I drop a text editor on the screen and I write medium, it takes that size. If I drop a H1 and type medium, it takes that size. And the beauty about that is I will then write 5 or 6 lines. I'll have extra large, large, medium, small, extra small, extra small. Cover off what my maximum and minimum sizes are. And now throughout the website, anytime I decide that this heading or this text is going to be extra small, I just write extra small and it applies it. It's the smoothest, simplest way for you to make your processes so much more efficient. I am going to show you a tool, and the tool will allow you to, if I now go and set my sizes, and I might want to set one up over here, and I'm just going to go in and, you can set your class names, by the way. Okay, so if I decide I don't want to call it extra small, I'm going to call it tiny, and I'm going to say the minimum size is, I don't know, 12 pixel, which you're not allowed to do for web accessibility, by the way, but if you want to make it ultra small, you can. And I go and hit save. What it will do is it basically writes the formula for you here. So all I now need to do is, once I've decided what I want, I just go and hit copy all, and then you can either go into your Elementor page and site settings, or you could, if you want, just do something like push to theme custom CSS. And as soon as you do that, it's now pushed it all over for you. So the tool just does it for you like that, really quick and easy. The really good thing is that when you change your sizes, it shows it to you here. So if I had made that be 1 pixel, that would shrink to tiny. So you can now see on my screen, and it also puts the name as well. So there's no confusion. I love what I did here with this. I really love what I did. This is probably the one that I have the most fun with. So many people build websites, and the intention of the website is to sell something. Even if it's a dentist website, you're selling the services. You're trying to attract the visitor, the user, someone to buy something or to make contact or to fill out a contact form or anything like that. And I find that there are 6 things that you need to kind of get in on the page. Now, you can mess around with the order, but you will find a lot of people are very similar to this approach. Now, these are not the only 6 things you need on a homepage, but it does help if you make sure you get these as your top 6. The first thing is, what are you going to solve? And that's basically your hero banner. You know, who's it for? What do they get out of it? And what are you going to do for them? So when you say something like, I am a web designer, so what? I didn't come here to look at your CV, which is a big mistake we see on a lot of websites. Or I build websites. Who for? And what am I going to get out of it? The second thing you then want to say after that is talk about the pain. So if they like the hero banner, look, all of you, when you're searching for anything on Google, I'm pretty sure you probably open about 6 or 7 tabs. I want a landscaper, and you go, I'll open that, open. And you look at every website, but you normally make your gut reaction based on the hero banner. And if you don't like the look of it, or it doesn't speak to you, you're going to click away. If someone is happy with the very first thing you've said, and they've now gone on to the second thing, and it could still be on the same page or a little bit lower down below the fold, you now want to talk to them. You've hooked them in. Now tell them you understand them, the pain. What is their problem? You know, if it's a dentist, maybe it's people who've had bad experiences. If you build websites and that's what you're trying to promote, you can talk about the difficulty of websites. Maybe it's about not getting found on Google. Maybe it's, you know, you've had websites built and you're not getting any visitors or things like that. Show that you understand the problem. And I'll put up an example as well, by the way. How are you going to fix it? Now, when I say how you fix it, don't bombard them with a flow chart. We'll have a discovery call, we'll build this for you, we'll get your content signed off, you know, don't go into all of that detail. It's about what are you going to do for them and what will they benefit from that. So if someone says to me, I've got toothache or whatever, I've got bad experience and this dentist is going to help me out, how are they going to help me out? And what will I get out of it? Am I going to get benefit? Am I going to feel like I got cared for? If you're an accountant and the problem is you're not getting your tax assessments in on time, or you don't know what to do and you've been let down, what are you going to do? And how will that benefit me? Once you've cracked that, that's when you do the testimonials and the case studies and the proof. So many people put this at the bottom of the page, right at the bottom. I always feel like if someone has lost interest, they're not going to go to the bottom. They've just gone. And sometimes because it sits above the footer, I always treat footers like dead space. Like, I don't care, footers. I hate... Who here actually enjoys building footers?
I hate footers.
You know, I always leave the footer as the very last thing I will build on the website. If it's a 30-page website, I'll build all 30 pages and then I'll go, oh, now I'll do the footer with your privacy policy and all of that. I hate it. But your testimonial case study now has to be your 4th bit, because you understand the pain. You've told them how you're going to fix it. Now you give them the proof. And don't overdo it. Don't put like 100 reviews. No one's going to read 100 reviews. 2, 3, just a 4 or 5 in a carousel. It doesn't even have to be a testimonial. It could literally just be an image of like a company or something you've done. And someone says, I worked with Imran and he helped triple my revenue. That's not true. But, you know, but if you imagine a business wants to possibly invest in you, and you never said anywhere, I'm going to triple your revenue, because that when someone says that, do you believe them? You go, yeah, I'm sure you can. But when you read a testimonial where someone says that now, you kind of go, maybe I do need to take this a bit more seriously. And don't lie. Don't make it up. Not because you will definitely get found out, but you're cheating yourself really in a way. So just be honest with what you can deliver, because if you say I can triple your revenue and you can't, you're going to have a lot of bad testimonials coming through, stuff you can't use, and people will talk about you on LinkedIn. This is where you now make the offer. It could be buy now, it could be contact me, it could be call me, it could be hit this button that takes them to another page to fill out a quote form. There's loads of things you could do, but this is where you want to make your offer. And then after that, you now want to slightly, in a cheeky way, let them know that if you don't do this, this is what you're going to miss out on. And this is the area a lot of people struggle with the most. How do I share the risk without sounding like a pushy salesman? So imagine you got your hero banner, right? You might have like 2 or 3 keywords right at the start, like, get a brand new website. And then your subheading in that hero banner might be get a website that finally wins you clients. So that's what you're going to get out of it. I'm trying to convince you that you're going to get clients. For small business owners, so the audience I want are small business owners, tired of sites that don't convert. So there may be someone who's got an existing website and their website just wasn't working for them. They weren't getting many leads. I'll build pages to turn your visitors into customers. Now you could reword that. But what I'm trying to get across is, what are you going to do? Who's it for? And what's the benefit they're getting? So you're trying to cover off a lot of stuff. And if you've got someone, and I don't mean to be disrespectful to general public, but a lot of them are not clued up on what you need on a website. So they want to be guided. And you might read that and go, well, that's quite basic, isn't it? You could have used fancier words. You could have put the word innovation in. You could have gone through a thesaurus and picked out really imaginative words. You could have stuck in a Lord of the Rings prose paragraph. Keep it simple. So the second bit is, if they've now still invested in your website, now you're going to say, you're not using these exact wording, but you're going to be talking to them about how you've been burned by websites that look good but didn't work. You've spent time and money on a design that no one interacts with, no leads, no messages, just silence. You deserve a site that actually brings customers to your inbox. You're hitting on what they may be feeling, but they've never actually told anyone. So imagine I'm sure you've worked with clients and they're not happy with their website and they might tell you, but do you think they've ever told anyone else? Even in their household, they probably haven't really discussed it. They're not happy, but they've not really said, it's not working for me. So what you're hitting on are the pain points. You're just pushing them a little bit to say, I get you, I know what you're going through. Then, this is the bit where I say, my process is going to focus on results, not templates. I learn your business goals first, then design around what makes customers click. Site is built to convert. I'm not making you any promises. I'm not saying I'm going to triple your income, but I'm saying that I'm going to work with you to find out what's wrong to hopefully help you out. The proof, our inquiries tripled in 30 days. That might be a heading. And then I might say, Imran rebuilt our site around what our clients were searching for. Now we rank higher and get daily leads. So if you imagine, and here's the other thing as well. So many people, when they put a testimonial, they'll put a name and they put the company name. Unless that company is a big company, no one cares. So if you go and put, Mr. Patel's Corner Shop, no one cares. But if you go and say Sarah, entrepreneur, business or something, or accountant or dentist, people are going to go, an accountant said that. I'm an accountant. I want a good website. It might attract them a bit more. So there's a thing about how much detail do you show. So imagine yourself as a visitor now, and you're like that. You go, do I work with him or not? Do I? And then you get to that. You're going to go, that's what I want. Then you make the offer with however you want them to contact you. Doesn't have to be a contact form. Doesn't have to be a product. It could just be a button that takes them off to another page. Whatever it is, this is where you want to do it, because hopefully you've convinced them now. And if they're still unsure, you kind of say something at the bottom below it where you go, every day without a conversion-ready website has lost revenue to your competitors. Because if it's a business who is up against others, when you say that, you're again reiterating over here, the problem, but you didn't say it here, but you're mentioning it here, so you're not repeating yourself. Don't stick with a design that doesn't deliver. Take the first step to turn your site into a sales engine. Now I'm going to show you an example. So here's your headline. Smile with confidence again, expert dental care in Leicester. For families and busy professionals who want pain-free treatments, same-day appointments, and a smile they can be proud of. So I'm basically speaking to people who've got money and families. And I want you to have a pain-free treatment. Many dentist websites never say pain-free right at the top. In fact, they rarely even mention it because they feel like, oh, I've got to mention root canal and we'll pull your wisdom tooth out like that. No, which is always nasty. Same-day appointments. How many people would love to have a same-day appointment if they really needed it? And a smile they can be proud of. And then there's my call to action. You can have more than one. Book your checkup. Learn more. So this is the first bit. Hook them in. Now we're going to talk about the pain. It's not just one header. It's just not just one text editor. We know visiting the dentist can feel stressful. That's the pain bit. Maybe you've had painful treatments. You felt rushed. You deserve gentle modern care where you feel comfortable. And then I give them a few facts. 36% people feel anxious, 12% avoid appointments, 1 in 3 only visit a dentist when they're already in pain, blah, 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 blah. So if you're one of those people where you need a dentist, you got toothache, you're fed up with who you normally go to, you're just not liking it. I'm now talking to your pain. I'm now trying to say, I get you, and I'm giving you facts. I know that 1 in 3 people, they're not happy.
Do you have an ideal number of words that you would put in each of those?
What I've got here is about the number of words I'd put in. So I could say that if the font was big, I would say you would have less words. If the font was smaller, you'd probably have a bit more. So I think it very much depends on your font, the font family, how you space things out. White space is always good. Let the words, let everything breathe. I would say don't go too much, because if you have too much, it suddenly becomes a blog piece. And if that's your intention, because you know your audience, maybe your website is for university lecturers. Anyone here a university lecturer? No. If you're a university lecturer, you probably want loads of words. You want to read a dissertation. You don't want a single image whatsoever. Then you might be happy with it. But I think a lot of people, they just want to go, because what they'll do is they'll hone in on stressful, painful, comfortable, anxious, anxiety. When you see stuff like that, you start to go, they get me. I'm scared of dentists. I'm not, by the way. What you need to do is understand the client. Now, when someone comes to you and they want a website, I always say to them, who is your ideal client? We hear this all the time. And I really hate it when businesses go, oh, don't care, just want to buy my product. I go, no. Like, you're selling trainers. What is it about the trainers? What is it about them? Are they slip-on? Are they got special cushions? Do they help you run faster? What is it about them? Who is your ideal? Now, this is where I'm now saying, what am I going to do for you? I've hit on your pain and what I'm going to do. And then I go, right, this is how I'm going to help you. But you don't say, do you see websites where it says, this is how I help you? This is what we do. Modern, comfortable, and designed around you. Right? So hone in on what you can do for them. And then like, consultation, state of the art, blah, 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 pain-free treatments, advanced tools. Most patients tell us they didn't feel a thing. Calming techniques, again, the anxiety side of things, but you don't repeat the word anxiety. Ongoing care, blah, 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 and all that. That's quite a bit of words. You would probably break it up with images and stuff. But if the person's invested and they've got to that point, they're going to see that and go, finally, someone who gets it.
In terms of industry-related jargon.
If anyone's ever been in that situation where you've had a problem and then you're in hospital or a doctor says what you got, they normally come out with a term and word, and often you're like, but what is wrong with me and what can we do? Don't tell me I've got this trigeminal nerve schwannoma, blah, 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 blah. What does that mean? It's not common language to me. Always think about the end user. Try and keep it as jargon-free as possible, unless your ideal client is very technical. Best advice is stick it in ChatGPT. Just say to ChatGPT, do you think this is too complicated or not enough? Or You know, and it will advise you. If you tell it what your ideal audience is, it will advise you on that. I was literally asking it last night. My son had 500 grams of blueberries. Is that bad? And he was next to me and it said, no, it's really healthy. And I thought, oh, damn, you weren't meant to say that. Now I've got to buy him more. This is not good. I was trying to convince him this is unhealthy to eat that many blueberries, but no.
How many seconds have you got to keep that person's attention on your website?
Some people say 7 seconds, some say 3 seconds. I am brutally honest. Mine's probably about 1. If I click on and it looks to me like the website was built 25 years ago, I'm off it. If I look at it and it's really super wordy, I'm off it. If I look at it and I can't make out what the website's about, I just switch. And I'm one of those people where I feel like in this day and age, don't care how long your website's been up for, if you're not going to take that time to respect the fact that I might not know who you are or what you're about, then why should I invest back in you? Because you've obviously not invested back in me. So I'm 1 second, but the common time I hear now is 3 seconds. This is a testimonial bit. Again, rather than saying testimonials, which is what I see all the time, real patients, real smiles. You as a visitor are going to hone in on that more than, because sometimes when you see a testimonial, do you just skip it? You just scroll past, I don't care. I used to dread appointments, now I blah, 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 blah. It's all a lie. That's all a lie. That is me, by the way. It's all a lie. But it's like you're trying to get them to understand what you can do for them. This is the bit where I'm now asking you to contact me. So maybe I do want you to do a form, but just think about how stylish you can be with it. Don't just have a form, contact me. Give them some images. So when you make the offer, don't be afraid of actually, if the client's okay with it, of stating, what do you need to do to get this offer? So I'm saying, look, book it for £49. Why hide it? So many dentist websites do this. The pricing will be on like page 4 or 5. Or they say, contact us to make an appointment. I'm telling you now, when you make that appointment, it's £49. So you're aware of it now. Don't let me make it and then find out. And then I go, oh, sorry, that's way too much. You know, so you're spelling out what they're going to get. That should have actually been on the other line. That's a mistake by me. And then you collect the details, whatever you need to do.
Are you building for a mobile or are you building for the desktop?
I always build for the desktop first. Okay. And then I work mobile, and here's why. I don't think there's a right or wrong answer with this. You're going to hear more people, though, say always build for the mobile first. There's a reason I don't, and I'll explain why. If I was building for the mobile first, even though I'm using font clamp, I would have built it, I would have had an image somewhere, and then I would have had that. Then I get to the tablet or the desktop, and now I add in another image, and then I've got to go back to the tablet mobile to check again. So what happens is you repeat your flow a little bit. I prefer to have the world, what I need for the desktop, and then when I get to the mobile, then I go hide that or whatever. It's easier for me to just go eliminate, eliminate, eliminate.
Then add.
Yeah, because when the minute you add, then all of a sudden you're now going back to the mobile because like your margin's not right or your padding's not right or something's there. I don't think there is any wrong answer. More and more people are saying build mobile first. I've tried that, but then it's just me. I'm nobody. Well, actually, no, somebody. You're not allowed to say the word nobody, but I'm somebody who is a nobody. Do what works for you, all right? Always go for what works for you, right? And then this is the bit where now you're going to say, what is the risk? So don't let small dental issues turn into big ones. This is the risk of you not hiring this dentist. But I haven't said the word risk. I've kind of hit back on, do you want to have more problems? Cavities, gum problems only get worse over time. And you know it's ChatGPT that's written this because we've got that big hyphen over there. You can tell. You know, so again, I'm now hitting back on your problem, book my appointment. And all it's going to do is take you back up again. You'll have more pages. Of course you will. But they're the 6 things you really want to hone in on. But then also, below that, you might have FAQs. FAQs are great for schemas, for SEO, and LLMS. So if you want to get found in ChatGPT, Grok, Claude, and all of that, go and watch the video I did a couple of weeks ago about the AEO AI Visibility Booster. And about us, you could have that further down, but keep it brief. You might have a separate page that tells them all about where you studied and what you did and everything. but keep it brief. Contact details, social media, you might have a blog post, an Instagram feed, but leave that all there. Because if I'm interested and I've got to hear, this won't bother me so much. I'm now invested in working with you. And I do want to make a point that this can sit in your FAQ as well. So you could have an FAQ that says, how long have I been a dentist, or how long have we been operating? Put that in there. Your contact details, pop it in there. Because then what you're doing is you're feeding the FAQ schema that helps SEO and LMS. So you're going to see templates where they sometimes have a lot of this stuff right at the top, but I would say they're just following like a standard blueprint, and they're just imitating what someone else has done 10 years ago, 15 years ago, and they're just, you know, like a turnkey solution they just keep repeating. So if there's any questions you want to ask me or anyone else in this room, or just generally, I will not have all the answers whatsoever about Elementor or WordPress. But if you've got any burning questions, things that you just want to get a view on or an opinion on, whether it's about web design, WordPress, Elementor, getting clients, what's the best place to go and buy pizza, I'll try and help you out as much as I can. Domino's, by the way. The best advice I can give you if you ever do have those problems is, I don't know how you build or what you build. If you can try to steer away from using any other Elementor product, like add-ons, anything like that, try and stick to just Elementor Pro. You will 99.9% of the time be okay. Because I'm very conscious of what I build and I've never had an issue. If you do ever have problems, it's usually because you've got an extra add-on or something. Elementor do actually tell the other companies 2 weeks in advance. You know, when the beta comes out, the other companies are now fully aware. Some of them, it's on them. A few others are really good at ensuring they push out an update. Other ones, they wait until people kick off and then they fix that. And then they wait for another problem and then they fix that. So they act reactively. So it's not Elementor's fault completely. About a year and a half ago, when they first bought out Flex containers, they called them all container was the class name. And then for no reason, they went and changed it to be C-O-N-T, pronounced cont, not, well, just make that clear. And if anyone had written any codes or there were any plugins using that, it broke everything. I mean, that was when it broke my sites, because I was using a lot of CSS frameworks. And then they fixed it to make it work correctly and all of that. So sometimes they do these silly things, but most of the time, if you stick to just Elementor Pro, you'll be okay. Now that does depend on your client, but often the minute my client says they want something extra, and I can't work out how to do that with a bit of CSS code or ChatGPT, and I know I've got to use an Elementor add-on, I will steer the client not to do that. And I will feed them gobbledygook to say, you don't want that, it's too much JavaScript, it's going to slow your website down. Just because it looked really good on their website, why do you want it? Your users aren't going to care. And 9 times out of 10, they'll go with me. So it makes my life easier. But then I've also protected their website a little bit as well. So, you know when you're on the Elementor Facebook group, or even the Web Squadron one, people will say, I've seen this on a website, I want to use it, I want to do something similar. And my question back to them is, did the client ask for that? Is it for you? Is it for the client? Why do you need it? Oh, it looks good. Really, these days, most people, even me, I love technology, but I just want to know.
It works.
Yeah. What do I need to know? Where do I click? Sometimes I get really annoyed by animations. I don't mind them now and again. It's got to be subtle. There was one website where on the desktop, he had everything flew in, left and right, left and right. And when you got to the mobile, every time you scrolled, it was like that. And he was like, you know, my family love it. Your family aren't going to buy your course, mate. So I would always say, you know, if you can steer them away, if you ever do see a feature on a website, what you want to do, and I'll quickly show you this, make sure you've got the page open, whether it's in preview, whatever, go to right click, okay, and go to view page source on any page and you'll get that, right? Then right click it and do save as, and then you will save it to your downloads folder. That's the entire structure of that page. I'll then go to ChatGPT and say, look at this entire file. I want you to focus on this particular animation and class, and I want you to tell me how to rebuild that step by step in Elementor. Make it clear and explain it to me like I'm a 10-year-old. And it will now tell me. And if it needs to give me a little bit of extra script or CSS or even a code snippet, it will give it, job done, I don't need to use an add-on. Because most of the add-ons, they're just JavaScripting. Someone really cleverer than me has worked it all out. But with AI now, I mean, all of the code snippets I've been doing in the last 2 and a bit years have all come from ChatGPT. AI is the thing that's going to be worrying a lot of people with web design and getting jobs, and the fact that there's so many AI builders. People now think, well, I don't need to hire a web designer. This is where, if we go back to like where I did the 6-section thing about how you sell your services, rather than say I'm a web designer and this is what I do, you've got to now start to somehow hone in on the benefits. Yeah, because drag and drop page builder AI, every system can say that. What you've got to come out with is like the SEO you mentioned earlier, John. You're going to be up there talking about you all want to get onto page 1 of Google, but you're not all going to get onto page 1. There's going to be some competition. You know, if everyone improves, well, you're never always going to be there. But what can you do to improve your chances? So let's now think about X, Y, Z, the LLMSs, for your ChatGPTs, your FAQ schemas. I'm not just selling services. I'm actually here to help you succeed. And the thing I always say to every one of my clients is, I want you and me to still be talking in 20 years. I want your business still running. Even if you never use me, the fact that your website has helped your business, that is what's important to me. Do you know what? That's a really good question. That's a really good question. I get asked all the time, why have you not done like Figma videos, Figma to Elementor? Jeffrey from Lightbox does really good videos on that. I don't, because a lot of my clients are not going to be bothered by me doing a pixel perfect design. A lot of my clients are quite happy with me doing a scribble on a bit of paper or a rough layout, and then I design it. If I knew a lot of my clients wanted to pay that, and I have had a few clients that want a pixel perfect design, then I might use it. But I have found that you've got to be realistic here. So let's say you're going to build a website for someone, simple 5-page website, and it might take 2 to 3 days. Let's just say simple, get the resources, build it, get sign off, move on, and all of that. How much time will you spend prior to that website now doing the pixel perfect design? And I bet you'll probably spend a week, because now there will be more changes. And now if you think about, let's just say, get £1,000 to build that 5-page website for 3 days work. You would have to be charging that or equivalent for the design. Now imagine, is the client going to pay that? If you know you can get that, go for it. There are so many tools out there, videos, tutorials. When you have a pixel perfect design, the client might, the designer's built it, maybe someone somewhere else. Client loves it. And now you're having to interpret that into Elementor. And sometimes it doesn't work well. Or even if I designed it, you know, the minute you start building, it looked really good 2 weeks ago. I loved it, you loved it, we're all happy. And the minute you start building, you suddenly go, that text with that image and that color just doesn't hit home with me. And I'm one of those people where even when the client goes, don't care, I like it, I always feel a bit like, if I don't like it and I'm now looking at it like an independent person, just because you like it, doesn't mean your user will. And I don't want one day for you to come back and someone goes, you know, when you get spammed, hey, I'm an SEO expert, I've reviewed your website and here's all your problems, whatever. I don't want you to come back to me and say, I didn't speak up enough about that. So I would say, be proud. I mean, the thing I do want to make clear, is that for so many years, people don't always admit to being a web designer. You know, people sometimes, like if you say to someone, what do you do? And you go, oh, I'm a web designer. They go, oh, that's really easy. Is that all you do? They don't fully respect and understand the amount of skill and time and effort that goes into this. Whether you do it as a full-time job or a side hustle or a hobby. But I would say be proud of what you do, because what we build can make a massive difference for businesses and people. Members of my family, when they know what I do now, because I don't work in the NHS anymore, they always kind of look at me in a bit funny way. But what they don't understand is I am happier than I've ever been before. It's not about earning what you earn. I'm happy with what I earn. I live within my means. I don't splash out or anything like that. I'm content. But if you're happy doing what you do and you don't mind getting up to do it, that's the best bit. You know, whether you work in an agency or with someone else, and you are going to have dodgy clients, you are going to have people that rub you up the wrong way and make you get angry or whatever. But the fact that you've got so much more control over what you do is a fantastic thing. In the old days of SEO, and I did a video about this last week, about keywords, key phrases, maxing things out. Where it used to be there, I now feel it's there, and AI is now creeping up. Because I don't know about you, how many times have you gone to AI to do a search maybe? So I was thinking about, okay, maybe next year me and my son will go on a holiday resort. Can't be more than a 4-hour drive from where I live, and it must have X, Y, Z. You go to Google, you're going to say holiday resorts near me, and it will give you all sorts. I now ask that question to AI, and it starts to go, well, what about these? And I go, no, not like that. Don't like that one. What about this one? And it must have a hot tub. He loves hot tubs. I hate it because then the towels never get dry. And then it starts to hone in on that. And AI is eventually going to become the thing that we're going to use more as a search engine tool. So I would say SEO is fine, but I think you need to start honing on AI. What I will also add to that, though, and I should have mentioned it, is you can only do so much. But how did you all come to find out about me? YouTube.
So social media and marketing. Yeah.
Video marketing. So many companies, landscapers, businesses, whatever, they go, I got a website built, I thought I'd be on page 1, I'm nowhere, why are people not finding me? And I say to them, right, have you done any videos? I ain't got time for that. And I go, you've just mowed someone's lawn. Why don't you record a video like it's now October, but this time of the year, here's your mower, you got 5 settings, you know, put it down onto the middle one so you're not scraping the ground or too high. Do a 20-second video, stick it on TikTok. You're not telling people, hire me, don't do that. People get annoyed by that. But when you start to show you know what you do, maybe you're going to show off how you're plastered. Maybe there was something going wrong with something in this room, or, you know, I don't know, whatever. And you've showed a way how to do it. People will take notice of you. And if you share these bits of tips on TikTok, but not just on TikTok, LinkedIn. So I use buffer.com. Buffer.com, for the first 3 accounts, it's free. So if I decide I'm going to post a video or a comment to Twitter, LinkedIn, and maybe Insta or wherever, you write it once and it sends it and you can schedule it. I use Opus clips. So I take like a 1 hour, so this video might be 2 hours long. I'm going to take the video, load it up into Opus clips. It does cost me £180 a year. That's up to you what you want to pay for. But I load it in and it will then generate 30 videos, shorts. And then I will go in and I will go, right, I want to schedule this one to go to YouTube, TikTok, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Insta. And I can schedule as many as I want in advance. And that's what I do every Sunday night. I literally go in and go, right, what am I scheduling? So if you've seen any of my short videos coming up on Twitter, LinkedIn, they've all been scheduled. And that's what I do. And that's what businesses need to do. I think that's the thing at the minute. Businesses think I can rely on a website or SEO keywords and that's it. They need to speak, they need to show themselves a bit more. So you know when I said at the start about when you get scope creep, make clear about responsibility. That's not just about when will I give you the homepage and you must then sign off within 24 hours or whatever. I make the changes, then I do the other pages, blah, blah, blah. You pay this, you pay that deposit. It's also about what happens afterwards. So it'll be the handover. So as part of the handover, we will have a 1-hour video call. Am I going to maintain the website? If that's not been agreed or they're doing it, I'll give them a 1-hour session on what they do. But then it's also about the marketing. So I will share with them either buffer.com or publer.com as well. I used to use Publer as well. And I mentioned video marketing. If the client's not happy with video marketing, just get them to do some form of marketing. Even if it's a post on LinkedIn, even if it's a post on Twitter, and just try and get them to say, look, why don't you just use a free tool like buffer.com and just do it on Twitter and LinkedIn and just schedule a post for each of those platforms every day for the next 7 days. Just do that. Every now and again you can say, oh, I've got this offer and I'm in your area or I'm doing something or other. Just get them to do that. Those little things are going to make a difference. But the trouble is too many people, they assume, I mean, the worst one is when you hit release on a website and they go, I'm not on page 1. And you go, no, it's not in date descending order. That's not how it works. It takes time. But they just don't understand it. And I feel like some of that is down to the fact that they will get spammed. So they will have companies coming and going, I can get you onto page 1, I can do this, I can do X, Y, Z, and they fall for it. This always works, by the way, okay? And I'm not saying you should all do this, but this does work. Big mistake businesses make is when a website's built, or if they want to promote their business, they send it to their friends and family, but they send a direct URL. When you send a direct URL, Google knows it's just a direct URL. It's not a search. What you say to them to do is go to your friends and family, do a search for the area that your business is in. And if you might be on page 9 or whatever, when they find you, click the link that you found in Google and go to your website and tell them to stay on your website for 3 minutes. Doesn't matter if you jump around the page, you just tell them stay there, and they can do other stuff, they can open another tab, but do that. Google will notice that. And I've advised so many people where there was a lady, she was based in Leicester doing hydroplay therapy or something. She was on page 11. She and her husband did this for 6 days, and then they jumped to rank number 2 on Google just by doing that. And the other thing is, if you do it, you can only do it once per day in your desktop when you're at home. But when you're outside, and say you're on a bus, your IP address will change every so often because you're hitting the public Wi-Fi. You find your link and you click it and just stay there and open another tab. Google will pick it up and it pushes you up. And I'm not saying you must do that because it's a bit of a, it's a little bit of a dodgy way to do it, but it is a way of pushing Google to see that people are finding you natively. Well, not really, but and then it can push you up. So the reason I did this is in July, I put out a video saying all of the WordCamps and all of the WordPress events in the UK worldwide are crap. They never really discuss WordPress. They're more like sponsorship events where people are just there promoting their own product. They are a little bit cloak and dagger. So someone might come up and say, I'm going to talk to you about how to do your hero banners, whatever, but what they really want is for you to buy their service or their plugin or something. And I just felt like they are the same people go. So you will notice that when you're on Twitter, every time there is a WordPress event, it's the same people. I rarely ever see new faces, new people promoting. I rarely ever see anyone who's not connected to a company posting a review or a blog to say, I loved this event. It's always the same people with their selfies and their happy hands and everything. And I said, it's about time we have proper events that actually talk about what you need to know. Clients, business, WordPress, Elementor, whatever. We need to get back to that. I got criticized because I never go to the events. If I can get this to grow, I'm going to do more. If I can try and get sponsorship by Elementor or someone to help fund it, we're going to grow. I want to get it to a point where I can show the WordPress automatic people That's about time you did a WordPress event, WordCamp in the UK. You get it back to the UK because they keep saying there is not an appetite in the UK. I just think they're being lazy. I think there are enough WordPress people in the UK to do an event. Cheers, everyone. Thank you very much for coming. I really enjoyed it. Thank you very much. Cheers.